Martin never thought a Tuesday afternoon could shatter everything, but there I was, standing in the gravel driveway of the home I'd worked my entire life to build, watching the woman I married grin like she just won something. I had come home early from the shop, thinking I'd surprise Vanessa with her favorite lemon pastries from Cafe Hartwell. Instead, I pulled in and saw her in tight jeans I hadn't seen in years and a blouse that didn't belong in our sleepy Oregon town. Beside her was a man I'd never laid eyes on, tall, slick, corporate-looking, leaning on a brand-new black Escalade like it was an accessory to his ego. She looked at me like I was the one who didn't belong. "Martin, this is Troy," she said, flipping her hair like she was announcing a guest, not a bombshell. "He and his boys will be staying for a while." I didn't move. I couldn't. The world tilted, slow and sickening, as our 13-year-old daughter Lily stepped out onto the porch behind me. Her eyes met mine, then flicked to Vanessa, confused and cracking all at once. "This marriage has been over for years," Vanessa said like it was obvious. "You just refused to see it." Troy gave me a polite nod like I was a stranger at my own front door. Then they walked right past me, Vanessa, Troy, and two boys I'd never seen before, one carrying a backpack with superhero patches, the other dragging a suitcase across the wood porch I built with my own two hands. Vanessa sat on the couch and started scrolling her phone like she hadn't just detonated our lives. That night, Lily curled up beside me on the couch, quieter than usual, her head on my shoulder. "I saw her messages," she whispered. She told him I was an obstacle, that she couldn't be free with me around. I stared at the ceiling for a long time after she went to bed. I didn't sleep. I didn't even cry. I opened the bottom drawer of my desk and pulled out the manila folder I'd been quietly filling for weeks. Emails. Hotel receipts. Late-night texts she thought I never saw. A screenshot of her telling her friend she felt alive again with Troy and that I was just background noise. The next morning, I set the folder on the kitchen table and slid it toward her. She laughed, actually laughed, and said, "What is this, Martin? Are you printing memes now?" But the laugh died when she opened it. I watched her face drop as the pages turned. "You've been spying on me," she snapped. "No," I said. "I was preparing." She stood and threw the folder across the table, paper fluttering to the floor like dead leaves. "You're pathetic," she spat. "You'll never have the guts to leave." I leaned in, looked her dead in the eye, and said, "You're not taking anything but your lies and that walking cologne ad you moved in here." 3 days later, I got a text, "Your behavior is toxic and emotionally abusive. I've contacted a lawyer. Next time I come for my things, I'll have police present." And sure enough, that Saturday she arrived with 2 officers and an attitude. She sauntered in like she still owned the place, grabbed clothes, shoes, even tried to take the watch my father left me when he passed. "That's mine," I said. "You never even wore it," she shot back. "I will now." One of the officers gently asked her to leave it. She huffed and tossed it onto the couch. Before she left, she said, "Troy's going to propose." I smiled. "He should. That way you can ruin his life too." A few days later, I got a voicemail from Troy, quiet, hesitant. "Hey man, I think we should talk." I didn't call him back. Instead, I took Lily camping, just the 2 of us. No phones. Just the lake, the trees, and space to breathe. She sat by the fire poking at embers and asked, "Do you think she ever loved us?" I didn't lie. I think she loved the idea of us. The comfort. The control. But not us, not really. She nodded and didn't speak again for a while. When we got home, there was a cheap bouquet on the porch in plastic wrap. No note. I tossed it in the trash. That night, my PI emailed me a video, Troy. Same restaurant Vanessa used to love. But not with Vanessa. With a blonde woman. Laughing. Leaning in close. Kissing. Karma, I guess, works faster than expected. I didn't tell her. Not yet. I just send her one message, "Your fairy tale is cracking. Stay close to home this week." 10 minutes later, "What the hell are you talking about?" I left it on read. 2 nights later, there was a knock at the door. Late. I opened it to find Vanessa, no makeup, hoodie, her hair in a messy bun, but not the cute kind, the unraveling kind. "Mark," she said. "Can we talk?" I stepped outside and shut the door behind me. "No," she flinched. "It's important." "Did he dump you already?" I asked. She didn't answer. "I made mistakes, okay? I see that now." "You made choices," I said. "Deliberate ones. Over and over." "I don't want Lily to hate me," she whispered. "Then you shouldn't have treated her like an inconvenience," I said. "She deserved better." "So did I." She put a hand on my arm. "Maybe we can fix this for Lily." I stared at her. Really stared. Then I stepped back and said, "I already did. I fixed it the moment you walked out." I opened the door and went inside. She didn't knock again. And that was the first time since it all began that the house actually felt like mine again. Not perfect, not whole, but honest. And for now that was enough. The next morning felt different, like the air had been cleared just enough to breathe again but still carried the weight of everything left unsaid. I made breakfast, eggs, toast, and coffee I didn't really want, but routine has its own kind of comfort. Lily came down a few minutes later, her eyes still puffy from sleep, but her shoulders less tense than they'd been in weeks. We didn't talk about her mother, we didn't have to. There was a quiet understanding now between us, a bond forged not just by blood, but by betrayal and survival. I walked her to the bus stop like I used to when she was little, and before she climbed aboard she looked at me and asked, "You think she'll try to come back again?" I nodded slowly. "Probably," I said, "but it doesn't mean we have to let her in." I watched the bus disappear around the corner, then turned back toward the house that somehow felt bigger now without Vanessa's chaos echoing through it. I spent the rest of the day at the shop, changed the oil in a '96 Ford, fixed a radiator in an old Chevy, and tried to lose myself in the rhythm of engines and grease, but my phone buzzed around noon. Unknown number again. I let it ring, didn't answer. Didn't want to hear whatever excuse or manipulation was coming next. I knew her patterns now, and I wasn't falling into them again. That evening, after dinner, I finally listened to the voicemail. It wasn't Vanessa, it was her attorney. The tone too polite to be sincere. "Mr. Green, we've received notice of a restraining order filed on behalf of your client. However, we would like to resolve visitation concerns amicably for the benefit of the child." I rolled my eyes. Benefit of the child. Like that was ever her concern. I forwarded the voicemail to my own lawyer, who called me within the hour. "They're going to push for joint custody," he said. "Expect a formal request by next week." I didn't even get angry, just tired. Like I could feel the next storm rolling in before the clouds even gathered. That night, Lily sat cross-legged on the couch flipping through an old family photo album, the leather-bound one Vanessa had insisted we make after Lily was born. She turned it to me and pointed at a picture, me holding Lily in the hospital, eyes red but smiling, Vanessa kissing her tiny forehead. "She used to be happy, right?" Lily asked, and I didn't answer right away because the truth was heavy. "She used to be someone else," I finally said, "but I don't know if she was ever really happy or just pretending really well." Lily nodded slowly and didn't press further. A couple days later, the formal paperwork arrived. Vanessa was officially seeking joint custody, week-on week-off arrangement, equal rights. As if she hadn't walked out with another man and tried to erase our lives, I handed the envelope to my lawyer, who chuckled softly. "She's not going to like our answer," he said, "but we'll respond accordingly." That weekend, I kept things normal: grocery runs, yard work, Lily's piano lesson, but my mind was constantly rehearsing the battle ahead. And then Monday came. And with it, something I didn't expect. I got a call from Lily's school, the voice on the other end calm but concerned. "Mr. Green, there was an incident this morning involving Vanessa. She showed up unannounced, tried to speak with Lily after drop-off." My stomach dropped. "What happened?" I asked, heart thudding. A staff member intervened. They said, "Lily was escorted inside safely, but we'll need to address this through the proper channels." By the time I got there, Vanessa was already gone, but Lily was in the principal's office, quiet, hugging her backpack like it was a shield. When she saw me, she got up and walked straight into my arms. She told me I'd regret not choosing her. She whispered that I'd miss her when you're boring again. My jaw clenched so tight I thought my teeth might crack. I filed an official complaint that day: violation of temporary custody agreement, breach of court order. My lawyer filed for emergency protective terms, and Vanessa, true to form, sent a long text that night, part rage, part guilt trip, part manipulation. "You're poisoning her against me. She'll grow up hating her mother. This is on you." I stared at the message for a while, then blocked the number. The next day I installed a camera at the front door, another one by the garage. I wasn't taking chances anymore. Lily deserved to feel safe in her own home, even if it meant turning our house into a fortress. Midweek, my lawyer called. "She's retained a new attorney," he said, "the kind that specializes in painting chaos as misunderstood passion." I snorted. "Sounds about right." The court date was set 5 weeks away, and the weight of it settled into every hour of the day, like a countdown clock ticking just behind my thoughts. I kept showing up for Lily, kept being present, cooking her favorite meals, driving her to her friend Harper's, helping with homework, because that was the only thing I could control. And slowly, bit by bit, I saw the fear fade from her eyes, the tension in her shoulders ease. She laughed more, started drawing again, even played me a song she wrote on the piano, soft, sad, but beautiful. She called it New Roots, and I almost cried listening to it, not because of what we lost, but because of what we were rebuilding, one piece at a time, without her. 2 weeks before the court date, things were quiet, too quiet, the kind of silence that doesn't mean peace, but preparation, like the eye of a storm sitting still before tearing through again. I kept my head down, stayed focused, work at the shop was steady. Lily was doing better, smiling more, even joining the art club again at school. Every small win felt like a miracle, like maybe we were finally healing from the damage Vanessa left behind, but deep down I knew she wasn't done. People like her never let go quietly. They cling to control, to image, to narratives they build in their heads to avoid taking responsibility. So when Lily came home one Friday holding a flyer from school, my stomach turned before I even knew why. It was for the annual Mothers and Daughters Volunteer Luncheon, something Vanessa had never once shown interest in before, and yet that night I got an email from the school saying Vanessa had RSVP'd. My blood ran cold. Not because she wanted to be involved now, but because I knew it wasn't about Lily, it was about perception, about being seen as the mother she failed to be. I sat Lily down gently and asked if she wanted to go. She shook her head without hesitation. I don't want to pretend, she said. And I don't want people thinking I'm okay with her just showing up. I respected her decision, but I emailed the school anyway, letting them know the situation, asking for Lily to be excused from the event to avoid any awkwardness or emotional distress. They understood, but that didn't stop Vanessa from making it a performance. She went anyway, alone, posted pictures on social media smiling with other moms, captions like, "Nothing more important than being there for your daughter." While Lily sat at home curled up on the couch next to me, eyes on her sketchbook but mind clearly elsewhere. "Do you think she believes that stuff?" she asked, like, really believes she's a good mom? I paused, thought about it. "I think she believes the version of herself that looks best to others," I said, "even if it's not true." Lily nodded, like she already knew the answer, like she was just checking to see if I'd say it out loud. The next day we went for a hike. Just the two of us, nothing fancy, just a local trail we used to go to when things were good, and for the first time in months, she reached out and grabbed my hand while we walked. No words, just a quiet connection, a little piece of who we used to be before the chaos. But that evening the storm came knocking again, literally a knock at the door around 7 p.m. Vanessa, of course, standing there with a wide smile and a grocery bag in her hand like she was dropping in for a casual dinner. "I thought I'd make Lily's favorite pasta," she said, trying to sound breezy, like the last few months hadn't happened. I didn't open the screen door, just stared at her through it. "We're good on dinner," I said flatly. "You should go." She tilted her head like a confused puppy. "Come on, Martin, don't be like this. I'm trying. You're not supposed to be here." I reminded her, "Temporary orders, no unapproved visits." "I'm her mother," she said, a little too loudly. "That's not going to change." "No," I agreed, "but being a mother isn't just about biology, it's about showing up when it counts. Not when it's convenient for you." Her face twisted for just a second before she plastered the smile back on. "You'll hear from my lawyer," she said, voice cold now. "Then I guess we'll talk in court," I replied, and shut the door. Lily came downstairs asking who it was. I told her. She didn't flinch, just said she never used to make pasta, and went back upstairs. That night I wrote everything down, every detail of the visit, every word she said, and sent it to my lawyer. The response was immediate. "We'll present this as further evidence of her disregard for court orders and boundaries." 2 days later, I got a subpoena requesting my full work schedule and Lily's school attendance records. Vanessa's team trying to spin a narrative that I was overworking and leaving Lily emotionally neglected. It was laughable, but I knew we had to take it seriously. My lawyer began preparing witnesses, my sister, Lily's teachers, even my coworker Denny, who saw me leave early twice a week to pick Lily up from school. We built a timeline, stacked it with proof. We didn't need to paint her as a villain. She'd already done that herself. We just had to show the truth. Still, the stress of it all started to seep into everything. I caught myself snapping over little things, forgetting names of customers I'd known for years, burning dinner 3 nights in a row. Lily noticed too, and one night while we were cleaning up dishes, she touched my arm and said, "We're gonna be okay, Dad," and it broke me for a second. I turned away to wipe my eyes before she could see, because she wasn't supposed to carry that weight. She wasn't supposed to be the one reassuring me, and yet there she was, stronger than most adults I knew. Court was 10 days away, and I felt it in every bone, every breath, every moment of silence between tasks. But no matter how hard Vanessa tried to rewrite the story, I held onto one simple fact. I didn't leave, I didn't lie, I didn't bring another family into our home like it was a showroom. And most importantly, I didn't stop being Lily's father, not for 1 second, and when we walked into that courtroom, I was going to make sure the judge saw that too. The morning of the court date hit different, not because I was nervous, not exactly, but because it felt like the end of something, and maybe, just maybe, the beginning of something else. I woke up before the alarm Sat at the edge of the bed staring at the floor like it might have answers for me. Sunlight was barely pushing through the curtains, but I could hear birds outside. Life still going on like nothing was about to be decided inside a wood-paneled courtroom by someone in a robe who didn't know me, didn't know Vanessa, didn't know Lily beyond what we'd put on paper. I got dressed slowly, carefully, like I was suiting up for battle, a tie I hadn't worn since my dad's funeral, shirt pressed flat, my old watch, yeah. The one Vanessa tried to take, the one I hadn't touched in years. I wore it now like armor. Lily was already up when I walked into the kitchen, sitting quietly with a piece of toast she hadn't touched. Her backpack was beside her even though she wasn't going to school. She looked at me and I knew she was scared even if she didn't say it. You ready? I asked gently. She nodded but didn't speak. I pulled out her chair and knelt down in front of her. Whatever happens today, I've got you, okay? Nothing changes that. She finally looked at me. I don't want to go live with her, she said. You won't, I told her. I promise. I dropped her off at my sister's place, gave her the tightest hug I could without breaking, then drove straight to the courthouse. My lawyer was already waiting out front, calm as always, holding a leather folder like it held the keys to everything. We ready? I asked. More than, he said. She's gonna spin a story, but the evidence is solid, and you've been consistent. We walked in together. Vanessa was already inside, sitting with her attorney, dressed like she was attending a church service, white blouse, simple makeup. A little too put together to be real. She didn't look at me, just kept her eyes forward like I was beneath her. The judge came in a few minutes later, introduced the case, gave the floor to her lawyer first, and that's when the theater started. Mrs. Green, he said, is a mother who made a mistake, yes, but only because she was emotionally abandoned by her husband. She has since taken steps to repair her life and is seeking equal time with her daughter to rebuild their relationship. I sat there stone-faced as he painted me like a ghost, someone who didn't listen, didn't care, who left Vanessa feeling like she was drowning in her own home. He went on for 15 minutes, reading selective text messages, citing mental fatigue and emotional absence. When it was over, Vanessa took the stand, voice shaking, tears slipping down her cheeks like clockwork. I didn't want to leave, she said. I just needed to feel alive again. Martin stopped seeing me, and I know I hurt him. But I never stopped loving Lily. She dabbed at her eyes like she'd rehearsed every second of this. I didn't look at her once, not even when she said my name. Then it was our turn. My lawyer stood up slow, calm, confident, and opened the folder. Let's look at the facts, he said, and one by one, he laid them out. Vanessa's messages calling Lily a roadblock, hotel receipts dated the same weekends she claimed to be visiting her sister, the Instagram screenshots where Troy bragged about stealing someone's wife, the unauthorized visit to Lily's school, the uninvited stop at our home with pasta and fake smiles, and finally, the letter from Lily's school counselor describing her emotional regression following Vanessa's departure. Then he handed over the visitation logs, the ones showing every missed call, every ignored message, every time Vanessa promised to visit and didn't. My client, he said, has remained consistent, stable, and present in his daughter's life. He did not leave, he did not lie, he simply chose not to fight fire with fire. Instead, he built a safe, healthy environment for his child, and now he is asking the court to protect that space. The judge didn't say much, just nodded, flipping slowly through the documents. Then he looked at me. Mr. Green, do you have anything you'd like to add? I stood, hands steady. Yes, Your Honor, and I told him the truth, not the version with venom or bitterness, but the honest version, how I loved Vanessa, how I gave her everything, how I begged for therapy, date nights, anything to fix what was breaking. How I stayed after the betrayal, tried to hold things together for Lily's sake, how I sat through nights alone on the couch while she texted another man in our bedroom, how Lily cried the first time she saw a stranger sitting at our dinner table where her mother used to be, and how I never stopped being a father even when Vanessa stopped being a wife. This isn't about revenge, I said, it's about what's best for my daughter, and what's best for her is stability, safety, love without conditions or abandonment. The courtroom went silent when I finished, not dramatic, just still, like even the air was waiting. The judge leaned back in his chair and said he would take everything under review and issue a ruling within 72 hours, and then it was over. For now, Vanessa stormed out of the courtroom ahead of us, her heels clicking like gunshots, but I didn't chase her, I didn't say a word. I picked up my things, thanked my lawyer, and drove to pick up Lily. When she saw me, she ran to the car, I searching mine for answers I didn't have yet. How did it go? She asked. I smiled gently. We told the truth, that's all we can do. And she smiled back, small but real, because somehow, even without a verdict, we both knew the tide had turned, and no matter what paper came in the mail next, we weren't the ones on trial anymore. She was The ruling came 3 days later, a letter in a plain white envelope stamped with the county seal. I knew what it was the second I saw it in the mailbox, hands shaking slightly as I tore it open on the front porch while Lily was at school. I read the first line twice just to make sure I wasn't dreaming. Primary custody awarded to Martin Green, supervised visitation granted to Vanessa Green every other weekend pending therapist recommendation. I sat down right there on the step and let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding for months. It wasn't just a win, it was validation, proof that the truth still mattered, that the quiet ones who stay and fight for what's right still had a voice. I didn't gloat, didn't jump up and down or scream at the sky. I just closed the envelope, looked out at the trees beyond the driveway, and whispered, "Thank you." When Lily got home and saw the smile on my face, she dropped her backpack and asked, "Is it good news?" I nodded. "We're okay, baby girl." She hugged me tighter than she ever had before, head buried in my chest, and in that moment, I knew everything we went through, every sleepless night, every court document, every aching silence, was worth it. But of course, Vanessa didn't take it quietly. No, within hours of her lawyer being notified, I got a barrage of messages from blocked numbers and burner accounts. "You'll regret this. She'll grow up hating you. You poisoned her." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. She could scream into the void for all I cared. I had already won the only thing that mattered, Lily's peace. Still, the silence from her wasn't permanent, not with someone like Vanessa. And I knew it was just a matter of time before she tried something again, but for the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't scared of her anymore. A week after the ruling, I took Lily to her favorite diner downtown. We got pancakes for dinner and laughed about her friend Harper's science project disaster. I watched her eat like a kid again, relaxed, smiling, free, and that night, when we got home, I found a box sitting on the porch, no name, no return address, just a plain cardboard box taped shut. Inside was a photo album. The one Vanessa had kept hidden away for years, filled with pictures from our early days, wedding shots, vacations, Lily as a baby, the three of us pretending to be perfect. On top was a note in her handwriting, "Do you ever miss who we were?" I didn't throw it away, not out of sentiment, but because I wanted Lily to have every piece of her past, even the painful ones. I put the album on the highest shelf in the closet where she could ask for it when she was ready, if she ever wanted to. 2 days later, Vanessa showed up at the school again. Despite the ruling, despite the warnings, she waited near the fence at pickup time and tried to hand Lily a necklace she used to wear. Lily said no, told her she wasn't supposed to be there, and when Vanessa grabbed her arm, the school security guard intervened immediately, escorted Lily to the office, and called me. I arrived within minutes, blood boiling, Vanessa already gone by the time I pulled into the parking lot. But not before leaving a scene loud enough that every teacher and student knew something had gone wrong. I filed another complaint, this time backed by a copy of the court order and a security statement. My lawyer sent it straight to the judge, and within 48 hours her visitation was suspended indefinitely pending investigation. When I told Lily the news, she didn't cheer or celebrate, she just whispered, "Good," and went back to her math homework. Like she had already moved on in ways I hadn't fully understood yet. A few nights later, we were watching a movie, something silly and animated, and during a quiet moment, Lily looked up at me and said, "Do you think she ever loved me?" And it felt like someone shoved a knife straight into my ribs. I didn't lie, I didn't sugarcoat. I said, "I think she did, in her own way, but sometimes people love themselves more than anything else, and that kind of love can't protect anyone." Lily nodded, pulled the blanket up to her chin, and didn't say anything else. But I could tell it meant something to hear the truth spoken out loud, not wrapped in excuses, not softened into denial, just the truth, as bitter and clean as it came. A few days after that, I found another message, this time from Troy, the man she'd left us for. It was short, just 2 sentences. "Guess I should have listened to your warning. You were right." I didn't reply, didn't even save the number, but I showed it to Lily and we both shared a quiet, knowing look, not smug, not triumphant, just done, a mutual understanding that the damage had turned inward on the people who caused it. And we didn't need to carry their wreckage anymore. Instead, we went on with our lives, school, shop, grilled cheese dinners, weekend walks, everything slow and steady and painfully normal, but in the best way. And the space Vanessa used to occupy started to shrink, her voice growing smaller and smaller in the rearview mirror until it didn't echo anymore. And I realized that healing doesn't always come with fireworks or sudden joy. Sometimes it's just a quiet morning, a finished breakfast, a smile that isn't forced, and the sound of your daughter humming while brushing her teeth. And in that silence, I found something stronger than anger or grief. I found peace. The first week without any messages, surprise appearances, or threats from Vanessa felt unreal, like walking through a house after a tornado and realizing somehow the walls were still standing. Every morning I half expected to open my phone and see another guilt trip, another fake apology dressed as concern, but there was nothing, just silence, and it was beautiful. Lily started sleeping better, deeper. Without tossing or waking up to check the hallway light, I noticed it one night when I peeked in and saw her curled under the blanket, one arm hugging her stuffed bear she once said she was too old for, the same bear she clutched the night Vanessa walked out, and I realized how much had changed in just a few months. Not all of it was visible, but it was there. Like the way she smiled without checking to see if I was watching, the way she sang along to music in the truck again, the way her drawings were full of color instead of gray clouds and broken things, and I clung to those changes. Like rope, pulling us both forward, one moment at a time, but peace, I've learned, doesn't come without interruptions, and about 2 weeks into the quiet, the school called again, not about Vanessa, but about a group of students spreading stories they'd overheard from their parents. Apparently Vanessa had been running her mouth at her gym, her hair salon, anywhere someone would listen, and like wildfire, the stories spread. Twisted versions where I was the villain, where Lily was manipulated, and Vanessa was just a heartbroken mother doing her best. The counselor assured me they were handling it, that Lily was safe, that kids were being disciplined, but that wasn't the part that stung. It was knowing Vanessa still couldn't stop, even after all this. Even after the court order, she still needed to be seen as the victim. I told Lily that night over dinner because I didn't want to lie to her, and she took it better than I expected. Let them talk, she said, picking at her spaghetti. We know the truth, and I just stared at her, wondering how a 13-year-old had more strength than most adults I knew. I didn't respond right away, just reached over and squeezed her hand. The next morning, she wore a hoodie to school that said, "Silence says more than gossip ever could," something she had written in Sharpie on the back herself. That afternoon, her teacher emailed me to say Lily had asked if she could write a short speech for the upcoming student assembly on the topic of truth and resilience. I gave her the green light, and when she read it to me that night, I nearly broke. It wasn't about her mom, not directly. It was about standing tall when the people who are supposed to protect you become the ones who hurt you. About finding light in places you didn't expect, like the sound of a dad laughing at his own bad jokes or the warmth of a safe house with no shouting behind closed doors. I didn't change a word, didn't suggest a single edit. She already knew exactly what she needed to say, and when she delivered it in front of her school 3 days later, the room went quiet. Not the awkward kind of quiet, but the heavy kind, the kind where people are listening with their hearts instead of just their ears. When it was over, the principal sent me a message: "You should be proud. That girl of yours? She's going to change the world someday," and I believed it because she'd already changed mine. But of course, the quiet didn't last forever. It never does. One night, well past 10, I was locking up the garage when I noticed a car parked just down the street. Too far to see clearly, but I knew it wasn't anyone from the neighborhood. It stayed there for over an hour, lights off, engine off, just sitting, and the next morning, Lily told me someone had tried to message her on a school forum, an account with no name, just a blank profile and the words, "I'm sorry. Please talk to me." I checked the IP log through the school system with the IT department's help, and sure enough, it was Vanessa using a fake name to contact our daughter after her visitation rights were suspended. I reported it immediately. My lawyer filed a notice to the court, and Vanessa was issued a formal warning. Any further contact would result in charges, and still she didn't stop. Not really, she just got quieter about it, leaving comments on old YouTube videos Lily posted years ago, tagging her in private Pinterest boards full of quotes about forgiveness and broken families. It was desperate and sad, like someone slowly drowning and trying to pull everyone else under with them, but we didn't bite. I told Lily she didn't need to feel guilty for someone else's chaos, that her job was to grow, to dream, to live, and my job was to make sure no one stood in her way again. A few days later, I took her out to the coast, just the two of us. We walked the sand barefoot, skipped rocks, ate ice cream, and for a moment it felt like none of it ever happened, like this was always our life, just me and her and the ocean air, and maybe that could be the future we fought for, a quiet life full of color and calm, where scars existed but didn't define us, where love didn't have to hurt to feel real. And on the drive home, Lily fell asleep in the passenger seat, her head tilted toward the window, a little smile still on her lips, and I realized that healing isn't about pretending the past didn't happen, it's about proving it doesn't own you anymore. A week passed with no messages, no strange cars, no whispered rumors, and for once, it felt like life had settled into something close to normal. Lily started smiling in her sleep again, the kind of deep, peaceful rest that only comes when you feel safe. I'd catch her humming in the kitchen, sketching by the window, her world slowly expanding beyond what Vanessa broke. One evening we baked cookies from scratch, her idea, and ended up laughing more than we baked. Flour on the counter, chocolate chips everywhere, and for the first time in what felt like forever, there was no tension in the air. No one walking on eggshells. Just a dad and his daughter healing without saying it out loud. Later that night, as I tucked her in, she whispered, "Thanks for not giving up on me," and I froze for a second before kissing her forehead and saying, "Never, not once." She smiled, already halfway to sleep. That night, I sat on the porch watching the stars and realized this was the life I wanted. Not perfect, but real. Ours. The calm didn't last, but this time I was ready. It was a Saturday morning, early, the kind of quiet where the world still feels half asleep, when I opened the mailbox and found an envelope from Vanessa's new lawyer. A formal request to revisit custody terms. No reason listed, just updated circumstances. I didn't get angry. I didn't panic. I took it straight to my lawyer, who skimmed it and shook his head. "She's trying to reopen a wound," he said, "but there's no substance here. She's hoping to wear you down." I wasn't worn down. If anything, I was stronger than I'd ever been. I spent the rest of the weekend focused on Lily, helping her paint her bedroom a soft sky blue, building the shelf she'd wanted for her art supplies, watching her beam like she had a space that was truly hers. And in that I found focus. Not fear. Not reaction. But purpose. Vanessa didn't understand that every stunt, every lie, every push made us more solid, more united. She thought she could shake us apart. What she did was build us up brick by brick. So I told my lawyer one thing: we don't respond with emotion. We respond with facts. And facts were something I had plenty of. The hearing to review custody didn't happen for another 3 weeks, and in that time, Vanessa stayed quiet, eerily quiet, no emails, no texts, no random drive-bys or social media stunts, just stillness. And for a brief moment, I wondered if maybe she was finally letting go, but people like her don't let go. They wait, they plot, and when the day came, she showed up looking every bit the role she wanted to play: modest dress, soft curls, not a hair out of place. Even held a worn photo of Lily in her hand like a prop in a stage play, but this time, the judge wasn't moved, not by the tears, not by the monologue about motherly instinct or growth through hardship, because we brought more than just paperwork. We brought testimony. Lily's school counselor, her piano teacher, even the neighbor who watched Vanessa show up uninvited again and again. And when Vanessa's lawyer tried to paint her absence as respecting boundaries, the evidence tore that illusion apart, minute by minute. The courtroom turned cold, the performance falling flat, the truth rising louder than any scripted apology. I didn't even have to speak much. My lawyer handled it all, clear, calm, and thorough, and when it was over, the judge didn't need time to deliberate. He looked Vanessa square in the eyes and said, "This is not a matter of parental redemption. This is about what's best for the child." And the child has spoken, loudly and repeatedly. Supervised visits remained suspended, pending therapy reports and Lily's consent, and just like that, it was done again, firmer than before, harder to shake, outside the courtroom. Vanessa tried one last time, her voice sharp and desperate. "You're poisoning her, Martin. She'll hate me forever." I didn't raise my voice, didn't flinch, just looked at her and said, "You did that all on your own," then walked away, never looking back, because the only thing that mattered was waiting at home, probably sketching in her notebook, probably humming to herself, probably healing, one peaceful day at a time. It's been 6 months since the final hearing, and the silence that once felt like waiting now feels like freedom. No more court dates. No more threats disguised as pleas. No more unexpected knocks on the door or teachers calling with concerns. Just me and Lily, living life, simple, stable, ours. She's thriving now. Her grades are up, she joined the school art club full-time, and she started volunteering at the animal shelter on weekends. Her laughter comes easier. Her eyes don't carry that cautious weight anymore. Sometimes I catch her singing while brushing her teeth or dancing around the kitchen with headphones on, and every time I see it, I thank God I never gave up. We still talk about Vanessa occasionally, but only when Lily brings her up. She asked recently if she could see a therapist, not because she was hurting, but because she wanted to understand what happened, to make peace with it. I supported it completely. Healing, real healing, isn't about forgetting, it's about making peace with what tried to break you. And Lily? She's making peace in a way that inspires me every single day. One night, while we were sitting on the porch watching the sun set behind the pines, she said, "I don't hate her anymore. I just feel sorry for her." And in that moment, I knew she was going to be okay, not just now, but for the rest of her life. Because she had learned something most adults never do, that letting go is power, and forgiveness isn't weakness, it's freedom. As for me, I've started letting myself breathe again. I reopened the back shed and turned it into a little workshop, not for the shop, but for me. I build furniture now, not because I have to, but because I want to. It's quiet work, peaceful, full of purpose. Just like our life now. No chaos. No lies. No walking on eggshells. Just honest days and calm nights. And if Vanessa ever reads this, if somehow these words reach her, I hope she finally understands she didn't break us. She set us free. And the best part? She'll never get to see what we've become. Because that life, the one she tried to destroy, is finally, beautifully, entirely ours.